I kind of want to talk about like some basic, just getting into like basically like politics, because I do it is basically I do basically run a political stream and YouTube channel, so it's like politics. What do I actually think about politics? What are my basic thoughts? So I just kind of want to talk before we like watch any videos or content or anything today. Cuz like the way that most people seem to think about and like understand politics, it's just not the way that they operate within these frameworks that I just kind of you're excited to contrarian me. Well, you might agree with what I have to say today. I don't know, but all of the frameworks that they operate within are so flawed. And like I noticed this not even only in the realm of politics, it's just in general colloquial language seems to be very like flawed in the way that they draw out their parameters and like establish their terrain for like what they're actually talking about. Like for example, like in America, like in the political context of America, the political left and the right are basically conflated with social, like cultural, two different poles of cultural values that are viewed as progressive and conservative, right? So, like, people in general, in like the political situation in America, people think about politics as if it's just cultural. Like it's purely a cultural arena, which if you think about what that actually means, like if you add the dichotomy of cultural and material, like economic issues, what you realize that means is that you're operating within a certain section on that economic scale that isn't even like calibrated to the same center. So what I'm trying to say is that the left and the right in America are largely both capitalist. They largely both sit on the economic right. Like compared to um like the situation in the rest of the world, basically. Um but people literally think here's the thing. They think that left and Democrat are synonymous and also left and liberal are synonymous. So it's like what you see what I mean? Like it's conflated with um culture. It's like all cultural, and it's conflated with party affiliation. Because and that's partially like the all of these situations ideologically have material roots. Like the reason why that is because like this is the section of debate that is acceptable. And I kind of want to talk about this more later because I want to talk about the new Biden like oh everyone's a terrorist thing because like that the way that that legislation is framed I think says a lot of just about neoliberal governance and the liberal state like that is where the critique should be right now because that's who's in power right now like in my opinion um that should be the way that we look at that like the thing about this is that we defeated like Trumpism isn't in power, even if they think it is. So like we shouldn't hold on a second. Rokon has an interesting comment to get into. I think instead of material roots, you should say identitarian roots. It comes back to these mega identities. It's more than class. Well, I mean, by material I mean like real happenings in the world. That's all I meant when I said that in that case, in that context. Which obviously involves yeah, that obviously involves like social identity and all of that. Yeah. Poor or rich is all yeah, but that's interesting because it's been turned into an identity because that's like the acceptable frame of debate is around these identitarian issues in my view. Like what people who think they're centrists like Joe Rogan like talking about with like oh the left and the right they're both so identitarian and crazy. Well, what's funny is the political center actually endorses identitarianism. They endorse that. They want that, but not if you get Not if you go too far. Not if you become a radical, because then they call you a terrorist. You see what I mean? We just have to be willing to draw connections that they don't want us to. Yeah. And identities influence events in the real world if you look at it in that lens. Like whenever we're talking about identity issues, it's a real material issue happening to human beings. There's like an interesting, like what I talked about with Tyreek, like the philosophy, like philosophically, there's an interesting humanism to Marxism that is like human beings have the power to create our own nature. So like all of our institutions, at the end of the day, it's like humans, they're human built. The only reason why anyone has wealth is because people work. That's literally the only reason. That's the only reason why anyone is rich, is because of the workers. Like think about it. That's how it works, because it's a human network. Like, you have to face it on that level of, like, this is a reality. But it's interesting, because if you pay attention to what happens in the educational institutions, the way that they think, like, mainstream economics doesn't think of it that way. They're, like, fully, like, right-wing libertarian utopian. Like, that is the economic ideals of the, like, that are popularly distributed by the institutions. They erase class and they erase labor. They literally will tell you that labor isn't important. And it's funny because this is the worst argument for capitalism that I can find. Is basically this idea that the reason why wealth exists is because people have good ideas and everyone else is just having bad ideas. I'm talking about like marginalist economics. I'm talking about like the ideology of capitalism that actually like materially like works to help hold it together. The economic or not the economic, well yeah, it is an economic institution obviously because all of them are, but like the educational institutions. Yeah, but like I don't know. Useful for what? Like I feel like it loses so much that Marxism has to offer that it's like cuz that's the whole point of it. They don't like the government sincerely does not want you to actually be a socialist. Like they actually don't want you to actually see it that way. That's like literally the truth. Like they just don't there is an ideological frame that is acceptable. And like even Noam Chomsky will talk about this type of thing. Like they sincere like that's just not the program. Cuz they have to be able to say things like, "Oh, there's young people who are like radical because there are obviously, but like because of the system, right?" And the military literally has programs. They literally have programs for like student rebellions happening where they will like train as if there's like a Zoomer rebellion happening. That literally is a thing they do. I feel like I've talked about this on stream before. And they need to be able to say like, oh, all these countries all around the world are such a bad system. Oh, famines. Oh, everyone will starve to death. Oh. Like it's all like it's all like there's all of this traumatic is what a good thing. Isn't what a good thing. It's all this like 20th century ghosts haunting everybody. She, her. But yeah, I feel like I've lost track. What I'm trying to say is basically like the way that people think of the left and the right is wrong. Like the way that the way that someone generally just commonly would think of that is incorrect. Like it's just it's a conflation of like multiple layers basically. But that's what makes it easy to talk about. Like, people talk for talking's sake often. I don't know if like that's some like I don't know if that's like hardcore introvert type shit, but like I notice it. It has its own mechanics, like it's its own thing. Um what do we have to watch today? Oh shit. Oh yeah. And the thing about socialism or like communism or any of these things is that literally like the thing about it is that it's kind of a different thing from like it's complicated because you could make the case that Marxism is like a quote unquote Western quote unquote like liberal philosophy. Like you could say, or you could make the argument that even if it isn't one, then it fulfills the same goals that the liberal philosophy fails to fulfill. But the complicated thing about all of this is literally that if you actually believe in communism and like Marxism and like creating history in the full light of reason like Marx says, then what you literally believe that as soon as we change society we reshape the individual human subject. So you actually aren't a liberal in the sense that you want a human being that is like progressed beyond the liberal age or like is different from the liberal subject essentially. um because that's how like essences don't come from like thin air. They come from like material happenings. And by that, like every time Marxists say that, we mean like society, not just biology or physical substances, but society itself. Even though that opens up a whole like the good thing about that is it opens up a whole new arena of debate instead of just like, oh, I'm a normal person and everyone else has to be normal too. Like this kind of coping. Like I literally see like people who act like who really want to be like in the center of the or like in the mainstream of the discourse and all of this. It's a lot of coping. Like it's not it's kind of misses they miss a lot. And I don't know. I endorse. I'm the type of person I endorse reading. Like I do think like read books, please. Like but I don't know. That's kind of uncool to say because people will be like, "Oh, you're being ableist." I feel like you could read a book. Like most people can read books. If you like, the thing about it is like if your attention is so occupied by your phone, then that you can't read, then it's like that has a component that's beyond you as an individual. It's literally material. But yeah, I'm trying to think if I covered everything I wanted to say. I think it's about wanting to learn more than it is about ability. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like the thing itself that you're reading about hooks you in. So it's like I have to read this because I want to know, you know? It's like it's an unfolding of the content of the book. But it is depressing how politics in America is supposed to be just cultural. I've actually never had like a voice training session ever. I just like it varies. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. But like dysphoria. And the thing about here's the thing also is I'm so consistent in my worldview and philosophy because I actually believe it that it's like dysphoria is also something that is beyond you as an individual. It's like a material imposition on your being. Like trans people shouldn't feel bad about being trans. Like it's just not, you see what I'm saying? Like anything that could possibly make you like there should be an easy way to get a different feeling about your body. You know what I mean? Like it should like that's and that's the thing. Like I don't want to abolish like all of the institutions in society in the sense that like I want to burn down all of the clinics and everything. Like that's not what I mean. What I'm saying is like we need to reimagine everything so that it is just like super easy for us to get what we need to, like as subjects, like subjectively in order to like be ourselves. That's like it's again like I want further development of society free of profit motive. Like that is kind of the so it's like I want better versions of the institutions. I don't just want to destroy them, but the rhetoric is cool. So it's like I feel like I appeal to anarchists, but I'm like kind of not an anarchist. Like I'm more of a Marxist than an anarchist. But well, I mean, yeah, it's like a development of my thinking, yeah. Yeah, because like if you just channel your discontent with the state of things, you will feel that way. Like that will be created, yeah. This kind of like destroy it all attitude. But at the end of the day, that's not a political program or like proposition or like critique. It's kind of libidinal destructive impulse, which is that doesn't to me that doesn't make it cringe, but that's just the nature of the action, I guess. You like if you actually carry it out in your mind, but it's so the thing is like the thing that I really wanted to touch on is the fact that it's so sad that politics is culture. Like because it used to be like there used to be more organs and methods that people felt were viable for like work or solidarity and power. But now it's like it's all just you. It's all the individual. They've created this like Frankenstein version of the liberal subject and then imposed it on everyone of like you're expected to meet all of these demands basically. And the thing about that is it loses all of the freedom. Like we've crushed all of the freedom out of humanity with our sort of like the way that we think of ourselves. It's that deep. And I wrote something down that is like I feel like it's pertinent to say at the moment. But it's just like something I put together in my head. I don't know if it's like but I said capitalism is pernicious because it comes to make up the very fabric of who human beings are. So like that's the like cyclical quote unquote process of history of like repetition and that kind of reification of the system. That's really why it happens. Like that's like that's the explanation behind that argument. I don't know. I feel like I make a lot of arguments and I don't explain them in the moment. Because it's kind of like, I don't know, like being in a social situation, like having like that interface with that kind of like confrontation, it changes like the level I'm thinking at. To where I'm just thinking about like what I'm saying. Like it's like, I'm not really thinking about why, like deeply, like what's actually like the content of why. But I just feel like we're in that state of social life where we are policing ourselves constantly. But I've talked about that on like the podcast before. Yeah, just get through the interaction, yeah. Especially if it's like someone who's in a position of authority, like it's that kind of like I just want to talk to you the shortest amount of time possible and then just like like when I'm at school and like I just don't, yeah. But I don't know, like I'm really an introvert. Like I'm just so like talking to the police is grating. Why are you I mean, you don't have to say if you don't want like on stream, but like why are you still talking to them? The good thing about the cop, like, here's the thing, like, where I live, I'm not gonna like say where I live, but like the cops here seem to be like, it's weird because like since I grew up and left, it seems like the cops are like hyperactive. Like they will like, oh, that? Yeah, that sucks. That should be like, I don't know, like, did something else happen? Like, but they literally like it seems like the second anybody has any kind of fun, they literally will like stamp down on it. There's like signs and like cameras everywhere. And it's not even just the cops, it's like just people who like own properties will just be like, yeah, and who like work at places, they'll just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna put a camera here, like and it's like it sucks because it's like you're just privately doing this like mass surveillance state that you say you're so afraid of in like China or whatever, like that kind of like you're just you're you're doing like that but privately. Like it seems like in these areas of like traditionalism, it's like everybody is such a cop. Like everyone is such a fucking cop. They're so like v- hyper vigilant and like everything must go like law and order is so important and we have to just crack down on everything like and everyone's policing themselves in their head. That's the thing. Like it's uh, the understanding of cognitive phenomena can they all have a correlation to something you can understand on a political level, all of them. But oh, he's like stalking you, what? Yeah, surveillance state. Yeah, it's good if it's private. Yeah, whatever, dude. Oh my god. There's literally like I find it normal if people are just walking around in places. Like if everyone is just like like why do you have to put up like gates and cameras everywhere? Like it's just like my privacy. I'm just like not. I don't know. The thing is, like, I have this kind of. I feel like I've tapped into this understanding of like we need to rethink how we think about ourselves. I feel like if you get to that level, you becomes a person that is not like the people around you. Like you're just not. you just exist like in a different in like milieu like semiotically like the words you use and everything like it's all like whew, yes I'm just built different yeah whatever I don't know Jesus Christ these situations are tragic these types of situations where you have to like cut people off like this it's tragedy it is tragedy because it's like there's a multiplicity that's not working out you see what I'm saying like it's like there's a conflict there's conflict it's a conflict which and why I say it's tragic is that there's a piece of it that is literally like what will happen like how does the conflict resolve type thing yeah But the thing is, like, even just problems like that, like on that level, I feel like there's societal causes and possible changes that human beings can conduct. Where it's like, maybe we don't have to police everyone anymore because people are like, but here's the thing, like, the thing about Marxism is that Lenin said that, like, we can't wait until people are different. Like, you actually have to change the world first. Like, there's all these complicated balancing acts that you have to kind of pull off. But that's the case across the board with all politics. Like, liberals talk like that. Really hope that I'm not taking too long in your channel trailer. Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. Whenever you are ready with the music, I can make the video. It's fine. I'm just having fun in the stream, just talking, even though like people aren't kind of joining. What should I do? There's like a problem there. You can't wait until people are different, but people being different would solve a lot of problems. It's that kind of like, and when you apply liberal logic to these kind of intellectual problems, it falls apart. Like capitalist logic, if you apply it to that, it just falls apart. I don't know. But as a kind of different way of thinking of the left and the right, I literally think of like expanded. Why are you anti-liberal, you fascist? I'm anti-liberal because I'm a Marxist. I'm trying to explain this at the moment. Like, I'm in the middle of like an intellectual stream of thinking. But why would I be a fascist? Like, yes. But anyways, I think of the left and the right not as like, oh, liberals and conservatives, because that's too narrow of a debate spectrum, because both of them are capitalists, right? We all understand this. Further beyond that, thinking of left and right as like communism versus capitalism, or like socialism versus, if you're gonna think of it at all, think of it as that, because at the end of the day, it's not really a material like deep analysis of anything. It's just like an ideal scale. It's like utilitarian stuff. So like it's, you might as well have a smart way of thinking about these kind of things in these analytic ways if you're gonna think analytically at all. You have no right to dictate what people do with their private life. When did I say anything like that? Also, why are you conflating your private life with the economic world? That's not your private life. That's not just you as an individual. This is the same kind of liberal ideology that I've been saying sucks to begin with.